Hello everybody, and welcome to my presentation. In all fields of teaching, the problem of how to entice performance and engagement from students arises. Not all students will be sufficiently motivated going in, and finding new ways to encourage performance via extrinsic motivators becomes a tantalizing prospect. This becomes especially important in highly technical fields such as cybersecurity. A promising idea for making such fields more accessible is the implementation of gamification. I hypothesize that if properly utilized, gamification can help to make cybersecurity easier to learn and lead to a wider dispersion of cybersecurity knowledge among the populace. First, some definitions. Cybersecurity is the field of study regarding the ability of computer systems to withstand unauthorized attempts to access the information and functions they store and enable. Extrinsic or external motivation is the practice of encouraging a task's completion by offering something desirable in return. Gamification is a form of extrinsic motivation that motivates by adding game-like aspects to a non-recreational activity. Extrinsic motivators are provably effective in other fields. A good example of this are reading programs undertaken by various institutions to try and promote literacy. My interviews with librarians have stated that there's a high rate of return in these programs. An example of such a program is Book It, run by Pizza Hut. Flora in 1999 ran a study where they found that college students who had participated in Book It as children found no statistical change in their amount of reading done. Such students also stated that being in Book It may have instilled a desire to learn to read better. If long-term reading habits were not affected by extrinsic motivators, how can extrinsic motivators help cybersecurity education? Cybersecurity aptitude is comprised of two distinct items: habit and skill. The 1999 study from the Floras is mainly concerned with habits regarding reading, with the understanding that reading skill will increase with practice. The drop-off of habit motivation will likely not occur for cybersecurity, as the motivators to continue performing cybersecurity tasks are constantly present beyond the scope of any special motivation period. Thus, the concern becomes whether extrinsic motivators can be used to encourage learning of the skill. Rostley states a 2012 scholarly consensus that the effectiveness of extrinsic motivators was largely dependent on the student. Therefore, we can conclude that in the proper situations, extrinsic motivators can be effective. Extrinsic motivators work, but is gamification a good extrinsic motivator? The extant research would seem to show that it is. Hamari et al.'s 2014 paper stated that they would work with a couple of caveats. Individual student metrics often affected results, as did the design of the tool. Yao and Lee's 2025 study also corroborates this, specifically emphasizing the proper balance of fun and learning. In addition, Pojani and Rocco did a 2020 study in which they studied the differences between two different types of gamification: roleplay, which involves acting out scenarios, and serious gaming, which involves more competitive things, such as leaderboards. They found various differences between the two, but in terms of sheer effectiveness, they found that they were about the same, and that both were more effective than traditional lecture. Therefore, gamification, assuming correct design, can be effective. So how do these tools fare when teaching people about computers? A study in 2014 by Ibanez et al. Taught students C using leaderboards and achievements as motivators. It was very effective within its sample size. Kabata et al. Built a computer education tool in 2018 and found an increase in learning with users of the tool over those who did not use it. I also have personal experience on this topic. The microcomputer applications class at WNCC used a combination of gamification and extrinsic motivation to encourage students to obtain Microsoft Office Associate certificates. You may notice in these examples there is a distinct lack of cybersecurity, and both studies have very small sample sizes. Ultimately, I think gamified cybersecurity is an underexplored topic. The business world also proves to be a good place to get data. A paper by Lundkun and Liam Thyssen in 2025 used gamification to train workers into better computer use habits. Baxter et al. In 2017 used gamification to encourage legal compliance among its participants. And a paper by Farzan et al. In 2008, and the follow-up paper in the same year, used gamification to encourage use of an office networking site. Results were replicable, and users tended to remain on the site long-term. However, there is again a severe lack of specifically cybersecurity here. Again, this is a very underexplored field. However, I find it a reasonable conclusion that what can be used to teach computer skills can be used to teach computer security. Thus, we can conclude that gamification can be a useful tool for cybersecurity education, as long as you're being careful with how you're doing it. Thank you for watching this presentation.